Narayanam namaskritam naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayodhiraya nashtapreshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shuki bhaktir bhavati naishtaki nigamau kalparurgaritam param shukumakaram ritadravi samhitam pibata bhagavatam rashamarayam mahorahora sikabhuvi bhavakaham Krishna swadamapagate dhamagirihi karonashta dushamasha paranato dinodidham Twamapiyada Vishuddha Vishuddha Vivu Simapiyana Virambiraka Pragyahidur Maram Sanklesha Nirvana Musanti Nanyataham Anarta Pachamam Shakshad Bhakti Yoga Malokesha Jara Chakra Shapara Shamitam Atmaramastamuna Nigrantika Korvantia Hita Buddha Gana Hari Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinu Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Kanta Namostute Jayatam Saruto Pango Mahamadera Matiragati Matsavasha Padamba Jaradana Madana Mohanam Shriman Rasa Rasaram Vivam Sivata Karsan Vena Shanoka Gopinata Sriyasaram Divyad Vrindaran Yakapadumada Shrimad Ratnakana Shima Sanisto Shri Sri Radha Shida Govindadev Rasadavi He Sevamanushmarami Namo Brahmane Devaya Go Brahmane Taya Chajikari Taya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Mangalang Bhagavan Vishnu Mangalam Guru Rajujo Mangalam Parikaksho Mangalayatano Om Narayanaya Vidmahi Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishnu Prachodhyate Om Mahadevi Vidmahi Vishnu Padni Dhimahi Tano Lakshmi Prachodhyate Mahalakshmi Namastubhyam Saraswati Hari Priya Namastubhyam Dhyadhire Tapti Kanchana Gorangi Radhavinda Vineshwari Vishwanasadeh Devi Pranamani Hari Priya Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamani Stay Sarasati Devi Guruvani Patani Nivashes Sunivadi Praskara Desara Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Good morning, Rob on Zoom and over there on Facebook, Brent and Patricia. Glad you could join us this morning, Patricia. We're waiting for your next visit, or rather, Oscar's waiting for your next visit. My Bobby spent some money over the summer to build a nice aviary on the porch. She enclosed the front porch, which is quite spacious, probably an 8 by 30, maybe 25-foot space. Insulated it so the cold doesn't get in. We put a heater in there to keep the temperature at 7 degrees. Put lots of branches and ladders and playthings and food bowls so that the birds don't have to stay in their cages all winter long. They've actually got a quite expansive area and lots of windows. They can look out on the front lawn and see the cows and see the cars. You can visibly see how the morale of the parrots is pretty good, considering they can't any longer go into the outdoor aviary. So by Bobby, to her credit, made a very, very nice arrangement for the parrots, and they're enjoying as much as you can enjoy being tropical birds in Utah. All right, let's launch into this Transcendental Tuesday session. As Gajendra is struggling with the crocodile, it says, lacking the backing of the other pachyderms, Gajendra was alone in the danger zone. The water had turned to foam, his friends had flown, and there was no one to phone. Devoid of his fabled strength at the end of his rope's length, his hopes turned to the Lord who awards protection to his devotees. Gajendra was alone in the danger zone. There were many watching. The sky was populated with demigods. There were other elephants who were looking on. There were his wives, his children. There were other species. It was a wonderful spectacle. The fight between the supernatural elephant and this gigantic crocodile tug of war that went on for 1,000 years by the calculation of the demigods. No one's going to miss this. Everybody wants to get in on this. It's typical in the material world. You get lots of people who will be spectators, and very few people will step forward to actually render some help. Some of the male elephants, to their credit, were grabbing with their trunks onto the tail of Gajendra and they were trying to pull him back onto shore. Gajendra was being pulled on the one hand by the crocodile who had his leg, and on the other hand, he was being pulled in another direction by the male elephants who had a hold of his tail, or maybe one male elephant had hold of his tail, and another had another hold of the other male elephant's tails. He'd been pulled in two directions at once. But none of the male elephants wanted to get into the water because they thought if there was one crocodile, we see that one of our elephant friends got into the water and there was a crocodile there waiting for him. So maybe if we get in the water trying to help Gajendra, there might be a second or third or fourth, who knows how many crocodiles there might be waiting. There might be a crocodile for each and every one of the elephants. So they helped up to a certain point, but they would not go into the water. They would not actually risk themselves in the watery environment on behalf of their king and their friend Gajendra. And don't we see that typically in the material world? There's a violent scene going on, someone's being beaten or taken advantage of or robbed. Other people will watch, they'll spectate, they'll witness, they'll even film it on their phones, but not many people actually help. I remember when we first bought the property in Salt Lake City in 2012. It's on a cul-de-sac in a very busy, trendy area of the city. It's just off of 33rd South, and it's a cul-de-sac, a dead-end street off of 9th East, just around the corner of 33rd South. It's Home Depot is there, Einstein's Bakery, Harmon's Jamba Juice, pretty developed area. A 7-Eleven just across 33rd from us. So shortly after we bought the property, been owned by the Seventh-day Adventists, it was an elementary school, and behind the school there's a soccer field, and then behind the soccer field there's a garden area about the same size. So there was a company that wanted to film a llama for a commercial, and they needed him early in the morning up in Salt Lake City. So we brought 2 llamas, because llamas don't like to be alone. We brought one llama and another llama to accompany him up the night before, and we put them in the soccer field behind the school. There was a fence, so they could eat the grass and be together. But in the morning, we took only one llama to the photo shoot and left the other llama in the field. Well, the llama in the field was not at all happy about being left alone. So he wandered the fence and he found an opening that we hadn't seen. And he slipped through the opening. He went out looking for his friend, who's like 20 miles away. He went out to the opening of the cul-de-sac, which was on 9th. He turned right on 9th, and he walks across 33rd, which is a very, very busy street in both directions. Ends up in the parking lot of the 7-Eleven. So on the evening news, all the llama wasn't really in danger, because people see a llama walking downtown Salt Lake City. They all pulled their cars, and they couldn't get their cell phones out fast enough. And then you can send, if you take a cell phone video of something interesting, you can send it to the news station. So all the news stations that evening featured the llama walking across 33rd to the parking lot in 7-Eleven. Nobody thought to catch the llama. He had a halter on. He could have been easily apprehended. To be fair, he wasn't in any danger of getting struck by a car or anything, because he was such an unusual spectacle that the traffic ground to a halt and everybody got out. But it's typical that everybody will film, and it won't occur to anybody to step forward and take charge or to offer any assistance. Many to film, many to post on Facebook Live or to send to the evening news show, but not many to actual help. It was the case similarly thousands and thousands of years ago with Gajendra. Gajendra looked to the demigods for help. He looked to the other elephants for help, and it was not forthcoming. When Prabhupada first came to America, it had been the dearmost desire of Prabhupada's guru, Bhaktisiddhanta, to establish temples in the Western-speaking countries. It was an open secret that he wanted Krishna consciousness to expand beyond the boundaries of India, especially to Europe and America, the English-speaking countries. Every disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta knew that. He'd sent at great expense. They didn't have a lot of money, but they pooled their resources. They sent two very talented preachers to England. They were there for a year or so, and they came back wearing city clothes. They hadn't converted England. England had converted them. They'd had some talks at colleges and universities and some meetings and salons and parlors. But rather it was the preachers that got more preached to than the other way around. So that didn't work very well. And Prabhupada was, he had his family, he had his children, he had his business. He wasn't in a position that he could go. Then he reached retirement age. His children were grown up. And you notice nobody had fulfilled the desire of his spiritual master. So he went. Sometimes he laughed. He said, the old gray mare was at the racetrack looking at all the thoroughbreds training for the Kentucky Derby. And the old gray mare was thinking, let me try. Let me train for the Kentucky Derby. So younger men, more connected men who had been personally financed by Bhaktisiddhanta. Bhaktisiddhanta would send them off, take them to the boat and wave goodbye to them, wish them luck. Came back, having accomplished nothing. Prabhupada said, let the old grave, let me try. Let me train for the Kentucky Derby. And the amazing thing was, Krishna likes the underdog. Krishna especially favors those who are least likely to succeed. One would have expected younger, well-connected, well-financed preachers to establish the beachhead in the Western countries and to fulfill the desire of their spiritual master. And incidentally, Bhaktisiddhanta had hundreds, if not thousands, of disciples. And he was very well connected governmentally. Many rich men came to him, offered him funds for establishing temples and doing what he wanted. But Prabhupada went on his own at the age of 65 or 70. He came at 65, but he was 75 years old. He had $7 in his pocket. No, he didn't know anyone in America. He just had a letter of introduction to a mixed couple in Buffalo, New York, Gopal and Sally Agarwal. But when he was in America, he sent letters back to his godbrothers, to other members of the mission. He sent letters to the Indian government. He sent letters to very wealthy men, Modi, Birla, Motilal. He told all of them that the prospects are very good. He was getting very good reception wherever he went. There was every chance of planting the seed of Krishna consciousness in America, according to the open-hearted desire of his spiritual master, and yet nobody lent him any assistance. I heard that only Narayan Maharaj sent him a madanga. That was it. There was another sannyasi, I think Madhav Maharaj, whose disciple wanted to come and join Prabhupada, but Madhav Maharaj nixed the idea at the last minute. They thought, who is this Prabhupada? Who is this Abhay Charan? He's not a sannyasi. He's not a preacher. He didn't live in the mission. He was outside, a businessman, a family man. Who does he think he is, going to America at the age of 70 with no money? Why does he think he can succeed where younger, more well-financed, more polished preachers could succeed? Well, nobody would help him. And Prabhupada realized that in this mission, being out there on a limb, so to speak, he had only Krishna to depend on. Krishna had arranged the circumstances. Prabhupada said, Krishna, you've brought me here, so you must have some purpose for me. Whatever you want me to do here, please dictate that to me. Let me do your willing as a puppet dances on the strings. It's similar. Gajendra came to a similar realization. He said, this is so specific. This is so strategic. I can't take it as a random happenstance that this crocodile happened to grab my leg when I'm at the height of my opulence, I'm intoxicated by honey. I'm aroused erotically by the association of my wives and the extra element of the water and the breezes and the perfumes and the aromas and the beautiful sights and sounds. It's not an accident that at this moment the crocodile grabbed my leg. He recognized this arrangement could have not have been made by any other than the Supreme Lord. The demigods didn't make this arrangement. My fellow elephants didn't make this arrangement. Nobody else could have arranged things so strategically, so precisely, other than the Supreme Personality of God. And so the clear message is, the conclusion is that I need not to look to the other elephants. I need not to look to the demigods. Just like Prabhupada concluded, I give up with the rich men of India. I give up with the government of India. I give up with my own God brothers, and I'm just depending on Krishna. I'm just depending on Krishna. Failing to get help from any other source, Prabhupada preached to the hippies, the musicians, the bohemians, the meth heads, the LSD freaks in the Lower East Side of New York. And those are the ones that, by Krishna's arrangement, just as Prabhupada had been, the least likely to establish, to fulfill the orders of his spiritual master, in Prabhupada making his mission successful, he recognized that Krishna wanted him also to preach to the least likely, the members of the counterculture who are in fact looking for exactly what Prabhupada was offering them. So think, what is the best place for your Krishna conscious? Prabhupada's God brothers thought that Prabhupada being in America was not an advantageous position for him. They were wrong. Prabhupada being alone without any money, from a material point of view, everything was stacked against him. The odds were against him. There was no chance of his being successful. But Krishna favored him. Krishna favored him. And so there was no chance of his failing. There was no chance of his failing. They had thought that when you go to America or when you go to England, because of the meat eating, the debauchery, the general degradation, that the preacher himself will be negatively affected. He'll lose his spiritual assets. And that had happened, in fact, to two of Bhaktisiddhanta's previous disciples, but it did not happen to Prabhupada because Prabhupada had faith. He had faith that though the whole world be against me, if Krishna be for me, we are in the majority. So that place is best for Krishna conscious, where your Krishna consciousness is nourished. Now, we read a lot about going and living in the Dham, the holy Dham of Mayapur and Vrindavan. In fact, there are huge devotee communities in Vrindavan and Mayapur. Literally thousands and thousands of devotees in Vrindavan and Mayapur. They've gone there from Russia, they've gone there from China, they've gone there from Japan, gone there from South America, from North America, from Europe, and they found homes there, and they're in the holy Dham. They're in that same place where Krishna and Lord Chaitanya was. They're walking in the same dust that Krishna walked and Lord Chaitanya walked. They're visiting some of the same trees and same tirthas and same holy places. There are 6 artis a day with beautiful, gorgeous, elaborate deity worship, their service. So they apparently have found that going from the Western countries to India is the best move, the best decision for their Krishna conscious. I personally find that my Krishna conscious is nourished best in the West, where it's hard to get devotees. In India, for every service, you've got 100 people lined up. In America, or at least in Utah, you've got one person doing the service of 100 devotees. I'm sure Bhai Bobby's on the Facebook comment section here giving me a thumbs up and saying, yeah, tell it like it is, tell it like it is. I like being in over my head. I like there being so much preaching. I like being outnumbered, outmanned. I like the odds being against me. I like being in an area that's 90% another religion and trying to do what we can to establish a foothold of Krishna consciousness. I like it because the service will never end. It's unlimited. It's unlimited. This is not a natively Krishna conscious place. America is not natively Krishna conscious. The temple that we have in Spanish Fork is quite grand and quite gorgeous by American standards, but by Indian standards, it's not that great. There are temples, the, the, the level of Spanish Fork on almost every street corner in India because Krishna consciousness is indigenous to the culture. And indeed, for many devotees, the place where their Krishna consciousness is going to be best nourished is in fact in India. I just don't think that's true for myself. We get almost every day, hardly a day goes by, we don't get an email from some Indian, Bengali, Nepali, South Indian devotee serving in a temple in India. And he says, I want to serve in America. I want to serve in America. And I have lots of experience over the last 20 years of devotees who tell you that they feel they could do more service in America. In almost every case, I would say that their Krishna conscious would have been better served staying in India. India is a Krishna conscious environment. It's very hard to forget Krishna when you're serving in a temple in India. But those who have come to America under the pretext of wanting to increase their service, they're now working in gas stations, driving Uber, working in a restaurant that serves meat. Their Krishna consciousness has gone by the wayside as soon as they come to America, even if their intentions, giving them the benefit of the doubt, even if their original intentions were good, they actually thought they would be able to increase their service in America. The fact is that America is not a good environment for an Indian devotee who has grown up with very little material resources, very little affluence. It's almost impossible for a simple devotee from Bengal or from Nepal to come to America and to see the opulence and not covet that, not want that for himself. So we see that after serving in the temple for some time and getting their green card, goodbye. Goodbye. I want to make money, have a bank balance. I want to live the good life of America. So we have to consider where our Krishna consciousness is nourished. There isn't one stereotypical place where you can advance in Krishna consciousness. You can't say that everybody's Krishna consciousness is nourished in India, nor can you say that everybody's Krishna consciousness is nourished in America. You can't say that money is the cause of your fall down in Krishna consciousness. It is in many cases, but in many cases, money in America builds beautiful temples, which give you what we call the home field advantage. Money in America, money has gone $12 million to build a temple in Washington, D.C., in Baltimore, in Columbus, Ohio, in Seattle, here in Spanish Fork, Utah. Wherever beautiful temples have been built and open, it increases the opportunities for Krishna consciousness. And certainly those who are pivotal in raising funds and organizing and building temples are getting the special favor of the Lord. It says in scripture that if a devotee builds a temple for Krishna in this world, Krishna builds a temple for him in the spiritual world. I'm a friend of Madan Gopal. Madan Gopal has been the driving force behind the temple construction project in New Jersey. Wonderful, wonderful devotee, just smiling, happy, joking. He flew me out to MC at a Festival of Colors in Parsippany, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And I helped them set up, I helped them take down, I hung with the crew. And he was always there, him and his wife, Manasa Ganga, always there, a great inspiration, laughing, joking, making everything fun. And everybody automatically looks to him. You know, when someone's in a good humor, someone's laughing and joking, they're very attractive. Everybody keys on that person. So he's a natural leader. He sent me a text just a couple of days ago saying how much he admires the fact that we've built 2 temples from the ground up here in Utah, and he wants to follow in our footsteps. And he's accepting the role of an initiating spiritual master. And I think that's a very, very good move. We need more householders. We need more married men and women, men with children and families, to initiate other householders and give them a good guidance. In any case, he posted the other day on Facebook, the marble, they're inside in they're laying the marble floor, and there's a big feature, big central round feature in the marble floor. And it's hard to describe. I should have screen shared with you and put a picture up. But if you go to Madan Gopal in New Jersey, you'll see this amazing marble carving that he's designed and he's commissioned, and it looks like it's done. It's the most intricate, beautiful, delicate, elaborate carving marble centerpiece on the temple room floor. It's absolutely stunning. It's jaw-dropping. So here's a person, he could do Krishna consciousness in India, but in India he'd just be kind of on the sidelines, maybe getting to do RT once a week, giving class once every 2 weeks, because there's so many people to do RT. There's so many people to give class. I remember when I was in Los Angeles temple, I had come from Australia. In Australia, I gave class every morning for 5 years. For 5 years, every single morning in Australia, I'd given the Bhagavatam class. Now, I had quite a taste for giving. And I came to Los Angeles, which is a big temple. The BBT was there. The Bhaktivedanta art was there. Some of the Bhaktivedanta scholars was there. So I would give Sunday feast lecture once a month, and I would give Bhagavatam class once a week. And it was great because you had a wonderful atmosphere of scholasticism. You had highly intelligent devotees. You had devotees that were writing books and translating. But it wasn't the best situation for me, because I had much more of an appetite for preaching than to give one Sunday feast talk a month or one Bhagavatam class a week. So now at least I do 3 Bhagavatam classes a week, 4 on Thursdays when Brent comes. I give the Sunday feast in Salt Lake City every other week. I give the Sunday feast in Spanish Fork here. I've had the opportunity of giving literally thousands and thousands of lectures having come to Utah. That was not the case in Los Angeles. That would not have been the case in India. So find that position which is best for your strengths. Don't make a decision of leaving America for India just because there's so many quotes about going to live in the Dham. Don't give up a strong Krishna conscious position in America in order to go to live in India. And don't necessarily leave India, if you're fully engaged in India, to America, being bedazzled by the opulence. What is good for one may not be good for another. There's some examples which are given. Teeth in the mouth are good looking. I think we'll all agree, right? A nice set of pearly whites in the mouth, one of the most attractive things you can ever see. Oftentimes you'll compliment somebody, oh, your teeth are so white. I love your smile. I love seeing your teeth. But those same teeth, when they're out of the mouth, it's actually just the opposite. They're ghastly, isn't it? They're ghastly. Hair, think of all the money in the billion-dollar industry, perms and haircuts and everything that goes into making the hair looks good. At the very least, we get up in the morning, we look in the mirror and we comb our hair and we brush our hair, we put some moisture on it, we put some gel in it, we style it, we try to make it look as good as possible. But that same hair, in the soup is disgusting. It's disgusting. We had someone stop by the other day, and they left a jar of homemade apple butter. It's been sitting on my thing. So I made a piece of toast the other day, and I put some apple butter on it, and I started eating the apple butter, and then I thought, what is that in my mouth? And I pulled out this long hair, and I thought, okay, well that's okay. I put it out, and then I began to eat more of it, and then I found another hair. I said, that's it, and I threw the apple butter in the trash. So hair in the apple butter, hair in the doll is not good. Hair on the head is good, apparently. So when the teeth have fallen from their position, when the hair fallen from their natural position of strength and beauty, it's not good. It's just the opposite. Nails, our fingernails are nicely colored, nicely trimmed, nicely cleaned. There's salons now where you spend a lot of money and people will, I don't know what they do. I've never had it done myself, but you'll have professionals who will take care of your fingernails and your toenails. makes it nice and attractive. But when you trim your nails, and they're fall on the floor, you try and trim your nails so that they jump off into the trash can, but some of them end up on the floor. It's disgusting. Those same nails which are trimmed or colored. Sometimes people they even glue little icons on their nails, and they grow them long. So industry, they're nice. But when they're falling on the floor, they're disgusting. So when a person makes a bad decision, when they would have served better in this place, but for one reason or another contrived reason, they go to another place, they fall from that place where their Krishna consciousness is nourished. So Gajendra is actually, when he was in the full power of his position as king of the elephants, husband of many wives, father of many children, the foremost, topmost of the elephants living in the heavenly planet, that was not good for his Krishna consciousness. That was like poison. That was anathema for his Krishna consciousness. Another person maybe could have used all that opulence and strength and influence to do something Krishna conscious, but it didn't work for Gajendra. It didn't work for Gajendra. And Krishna, out of his mercy, sent the crocodile. Gajendra never blames the crocodile. We've gone through 2 whole chapters in the 8th canto of the Bhagavatam, some 60 plus verses. And we're going to go through chapter 3rd, which is 28 additional verses, the prayers of Gajendra. At no time did he ever say anything bad about the crocodile. Think of an ordinary person. He'd grab, what's the first word out of their mouth? It's going to be a swear word, right? What goes in, what goes out. It's funny because, we can tell what people have been feeding themselves. People like to pretend they have a certain pretend self that they put on Facebook or they present before strangers, office co-workers. But if you want to know what's going through their mind or what they're feeding themselves in their private hours, just surprise them or shock them, and then listen to what comes out of their mouth. There was this thing on the internet about people walking down a crowded street in a city like New York, and there's a bush, there's a potted plant there outside of a store. It's about 6 feet tall, it's about 3 feet wide. And people don't even notice it. They don't even kind of um, um, pick up on it. But as soon as people get near the potted plant all of a sudden raises it and jumps out at them and scares the Jesus out of them. And then just listen to the words that come out of their mouths. What goes in, what goes out. So Gajendra at first, he called to the other elephants, he called to the demigods, lacking the back and the other pachyderm. Gajendra was alone, and he realized that only Krishna could have made the strategic, precise arrangement. And so I'm not going to look to anyone else, even they be a demigod, or even they be the second most powerful elephant, even they be my loving wife who can't live without me. No, I'm gonna throw myself on the mercy of the one that, for my benefit, sent the crocodile, made this arrangement, because although from a material point of view, I could not be in a worse situation right now. Materially, I could not be in a worse situation. In the water, days have gone by. Crocodiles dragging me further from the shore. The efforts of the other elephants to get me back on shore are failing. My strength is flagging. And I realized that from a Krishna conscious point of view, I could not be in a better situation. Yashaham anugrama hirisha taddanam. When Krishna, from someone who's become a little diverted, a little intoxicated by material opulences, name and fame, Krishna shows that devotee special mercy by taking everything away. To his credit, Gajendra recognized the mercy of the Lord, the arrangement of the Lord. And he took the crocodile not as his enemy, but as his friend. He knew that the other elephants didn't make this arrangement. They wanted me to stay as their wife or their husband or their king. The demigods didn't make this arrangement. Only Krishna could have sent this gigantic crocodile to capture me just at the moment when I was most in illusion and coincidentally most vulnerable. Only Krishna has made this arrangement, and only Mukunda can save me. Only Hari can take away this misery. And frankly, at this point, Gajendra is no longer afraid of death. He was petrified in the beginning at the shock and the reversal. He was scared to death, of death. But now, as he's gone through this process, fighting over hundreds of days with the crocodile, he's now divested himself of this bodily identification. His consciousness of Krishna from a previous life is now emerged. Things are coming back to him. Memories are being revived. Fact of the matter is, we shouldn't be afraid of death. Good reason that we shouldn't be afraid of death is that we've died hundreds, if not thousands of times before. We've done it many, many, many times before. Many times in previous lives, we've been the victims of just about every crime that you can imagine. Many times we've been the victim of rape, the victim of assault. Many times we've been the victim of bomb blasts. We've been knifed, stabbed. Many times we've been shot. Many, many times we've been torn limb from limb by wild animals. We've had every disease. We've had pneumonia. We've had polio. We've had smallpox. We've had yellow fever. We've died of every imaginable disease. We've been in auto accidents. We've been in plane crashes. We've been in train crashes. I heard a joke. One man, what was it? He was, oh, I forget the joke. I'll think of it later. Krishna is actually very kind. People oftentimes ask us, do we remember our past lives? You know, how many times you've been knifed? How many times you've been stabbed? How many times do you want to remember that? It's Krishna's mercy. It's Krishna's kindness that we don't remember all the details of our past lives. Devotee in the situation that Gajendra is in is not afraid of dying. I remember a story that came to us a few years ago. A devotee who had served Prabhupada for many years, faithfully, joyfully, got cancer. It was throughout his whole body, eating every organ, every limb. He was on his deathbed with really just a few moments left to live. Couldn't speak, couldn't see, could hear apparently, because the devotee who was taking care of him asked him, Krishnadas, how are you doing? How are you doing, Krishnadas? His eyes were closed. He was weak. He was just a skeleton, maybe 80 pounds, shadow of his former self. Literally, he was going to be gone within 2 or 3 more hours. And when this devotee who was standing whispered in his ear, how are you doing? He did this. His hands were lying on the bed, and he did this. He did this. The devotee's not afraid of dying. It's something we've done so many times before, but what a devotee is afraid of is forgetting Krishna at the time of death and consequently having to enter into another womb. Devotee knows, Janma karma vedi vyomevamya chakvam dehamara purnaiti neti marjana. We simply invest the few short years of this human form of a life to understand, and it's a blissful process. Pratyakshavaram susukam kartam. It's a process which is joyfully performed with good prasadam, good kirtan, the best of saintly association. If we simply take advantage of the tools, the facilities that Krishna has sent our way, and use them to understand the transcendental nature of Krishna's birth and activities, the result will be that, yes, we're going to die. Having taken birth, death is inevitable. But what we're really afraid of is that after dying this next time, we're afraid of having again to enter into another one. And so one who's an actual devotee is diligent about understanding Janma Karma Divyam, how it is that Krishna's birth and Krishna's activities are not ordinary. And the more you understand, the more you remember Krishna, the more you think of Krishna, and the less you forget Krishna. And those are the two rules of Krishna consciousness. Bottom line is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. And a corollary of that is, don't look to others to save you. Only Krishna can save you. Nobody else. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Oh, we've got lots of text here. Let me just moisten. We've been Transcendental Tuesday. Buenos dias, Patricia. Thank you. And I'm here to assure you that Oscar's doing well. He spent the whole day up at the temple room yesterday, looking at people coming and going. He's a wonderful guy. We love him. Brent, Hare Krishna, by Bobby. Natasha, Hare Krishna. Brent, it's a pity to let a llama run loose in the city. Don't let him roam. Help him get back home. I'm not sure why he walked out our lane, turned right on 9th, and then crossed over 33rd into the parking lot of the 7-Eleven. I wonder if he had in mind purchasing something at the 7-Eleven, or maybe it was just the colorful storefront of the 7-Eleven that attracted him. Finally, one of our neighbors, she had been sitting on her lounge chair on our little dead end street, and she looked up, and here's this llama walking out into traffic. So she put her magazine away and tracked him. She was the one that finally grabbed his halter in the parking lot of the 7-Eleven. I got a call. I was out, I think, putting up posters for a festival, and someone called me and said, you have a llama out. So I came back, and as I turned off of 9th, and I looked down our dead end street, and there were fire trucks, there were ambulances, there were police vehicles, and all kinds of people in uniform were hanging around just talking. The llama had been captured about an hour beforehand, put back in the field. The other llama had returned from the film shoot. Everything was normal, but all the EMTs and all the policemen and all the firemen were just kind of having a confab there. And they let me know in no uncertain terms that we shouldn't bring any more llamas into the city. And they even visit us every once in a while to make sure we don't have llamas in the backyard. Okay, Brent made a poem of that. It's a pity to let a llama run loose in the city. Don't let him roam. Help him get back home. Bye, Bobby. Tell it like it is. Bye, Bobby particularly does so much service here from morning until night. She keeps the place running. She goes to sleep every day about 8 o'clock. She hits the pillow and she's dead to the world. She works so hard, leaves nothing back, gives 120% every single day. Haribo, Pragna, and Yogesh, please accept my obeisances all the way from Dallas, Texas. Jean Eskelson, namaste. My Bobby says, old age is the ultimate blessing. Take shelter of Krishna. Don't care about loss. Yes, old age is a great springboard. If you haven't remembered Krishna and the fervor of raising a family and making money, um, yeah, when you reach old age, there's more of your life behind you than there is ahead of you. It's time to think of Krishna. Satish Kalyan, this devotee suffers stroke. When we say Krishna will protect, how can I be free from anxiety and suffering? Well, again, stroke can be an opportunity. Tomorrow, I think we're going to run out of time, but I'll tell you a story tomorrow. If you remind me, come on early and send me a note. Remind me. I'll tell you exactly how a great friend of mine, Pranjivan Bopat, um, made his life successful in Krishna consciousness after he had a stroke. After his stroke was sent by Krishna, obviously, so that he could focus more on chanting the Maha Mantra. That is a story for another day. Brent, find the place where your Krishna consciousness is nourished best. Don't just rest or be the guest of a holy place. If you're better at the behest of your spiritual master to go somewhere more fast-paced, don't leave your own backyard to go somewhere hard. If more devotee association will ease your frustration. Wow, you got a lot of nuances into that, man. Find the place where your Krishna consciousness is nourished best. Don't just rest or be the guest of a holy place. If you're better at the behest of your spiritual master to go somewhere more fast-paced, don't leave your own backyard to go somewhere hard. If more devotee association will ease your frustration. That was very sophisticated. Covered all kinds of happenstances. Good morning, Sandhya. Hare Krishna. Shukshma, you're in Texas. Nice. And Chad, good morning, Chad. Well, thanks to all of you. And we'll wind up here in the last few minutes, hearing from Rob what his takeaways are. Are you there, Rob?
Hare Krishna, yes, Babaji.
Haribo.
All right. Don't expect others to take the risk to save us from Maya's tricks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Building a tipple can make preaching simple.
Mm-hmm. Home field advantage.
Careful not to overreach when you preach.
Mm-hmm.
Let Krishna use you so Maya won't fool you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Surrender in devotion before you cross the ocean.
That's a deep one. That you might think that's just a simple sentence, but that has a lot of nuance to it. Thank you for that.
Better to fail doing what we should than to do another's dharma, no matter how good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right from the Bhagavad Gita.
Krishna is glad when it gets bad if it releases us from attachment we had.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Nice.
Haribol.
Those are good. Thanks very much to the point. Appreciate it. And please do send those along so I can post them. Okay, 2 out of 3 for this week passed. We'll be back tomorrow to talk more about Gajendra Lila on Wisdom Wednesday. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.